Hi, guys. Thank you for subscribing. And if you just happen to find me from scrolling around and you like what I do here, help me out and hit that subscribe button. So, we all know that Donald Trump purposely picked the worst people possible for staff and cabinet picks. Evil people, criminals, drunks, drug addicts, rapists, liars, the whole nine yards. People with the worst kind of backgrounds and morals, people who will sell out their country, but mostly people who are incredibly unqualified, who could not get these jobs. They couldn't get within a mile of these jobs in any other administration, even a really bad Republican administration. So why does he do that? Well, he wants these people to implement things that are immoral, illegal, unconstitutional, that can set off World War III. He wants them to implement his plans without question. In his first administration, there were people who served as guardrails, and there were simply things they wouldn't do. They're not going to, a Secretary of Defense isn't going to have the military, go in and apprehend or point guns at American citizens. So I love what Illinois Senator Tammy Duckworth had to say to Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. Very, very direct. She is a veteran, a wounded veteran. She sacrificed two legs. She's a double amputee from her wounds in active combat. Pete Hegseth is a drunk who is a Fox News host. So here's what she says to him. Your failures, Mr. Secretary, since you've taken office. Oh, wait, let me step back up. Yeah, she says, your failures, Mr. Secretary, since you've taken office has been staggering. You sent classified operational info via Signal to chest thump over your wife, who has no security clearance. You blew the $1 billion fight against the Houthis. And I know I'm pronouncing that wrong. No one wants to work with you. More than all this, you have an unjustified, un-American misuse of the military in American cities, pulling resources and attention away from core missions to the detriment of the country, the war fighting you claim to love. I don't know if this is because you were too inexperienced. Okay, she goes on and on. And she said this at a hearing out loud on camera. More of this, please. And other senators called him out as well. Since Democrats refuse to have daily press briefings, there's no conceivable reason why they shouldn't be doing this. We have to rely on these snippets in hearings. Now, most Americans don't spend their life, glued to C-SPAN watching these hearings. So people like me find them and put clips out there, or someone else will flag it for me. And then I want to share it with all of you. But I think that this is absolutely what every senator needs to do and House member. Continue to call them out and be this direct. Be this direct. And she said, because he's too experienced. Well, she's right. That is the entire reason Trump gave him the job, because he knows that Pete Hegseth is dumb, immoral, un-American, a drunk, has a big ego, and will simply implement orders. Now, we also understand that Trump reamed Hegseth a new one and blamed him for the abject, humiliating failure of a military, authoritarian birthday parade for Trump. So, but these are people who will take it. And they'll bend over and say, please, sir, may I have some more? I mean, this is who they are. And we saw some of this in the first administration. Remember Matthew Whitaker? He was the acting AG. This guy, what was he, a toilet executive or something like that? He came from the far right-wing Leonard Leo group, the CRC group, and I'm familiar with these guys. I used to know them. These are the ones that supposedly bought Kellyanne's polling firm because she had to divest, back when they still, when people still had to follow the law and divest of those types of businesses when they were going to go into public service. So before she could go to work at the White House, she had to fake sell her polling firm to them. Well, that's a big Leonard Leo place. And as you know, as I've mentioned before, Kellyanne and George Conway used to give a ton of money to Leonard Leo and for mainly to make sure that people like Kavanaugh would get into the Supreme Court. And remember, George Conway was pretty friendly about that whole idea. So these are the people. Matt Whitaker, again, somebody who should never, to think of him as an acting AG. And by the way, when you do the acting, that means you don't have to go through Senate confirmation. And that's why Trump had so many acting cabinet members in his first administration, because then he could bypass the confirmation process of the Senate. He does not believe in co-equal branches of government, checks and balances, or democracy, or freedom. Okay? The same reason we have ICE agents fully masked up. Anybody could, just in jeans or whatever. These are like January 6 guys, Proud Boy people. They're allowed to do this to serve now. That's what Republicans said was okay when Democrats, there was legislation to prevent the January 6 violent January 6 insurrectionists, traitors, domestic terrorists, serving in these positions at DHS, Department of Homeland Security. And Republicans like, no, we're fine with it. So they're masked up. They can take lawmakers illegally, unconstitutionally, just apprehend them, throw them to the ground, and drag them off to God knows where. That is only happening because Trump hired people in cabinet positions, people that could give these orders. He hired people in these positions who were willing to break the law and go against the Constitution and be immoral and unethical and do things to hurt America and Americans. So if there's any confusion as to why we have these idiots, utter pieces of puppy caca that you'd wipe off your shoe in these key positions, that is why. The stupider, the more immoral, the more weak of character. In fact, the weaker of character, the better. The drunks. Someone who's willing to have an extramarital affair with the likes of Corey Lewandowski, who should be in prison many times over right now. Robert Kennedy, RFK Jr. It doesn't get any worse than that. This was done intentionally. Many of these people got saved from other horrible situations in their lives. That's another thing he does. He pardons criminals so that they will then, especially white-collar criminals, because then they will implement his wishes and break the law for him. And he's building his own little mafia. They're thugs. Trump loves criminals if they will break the law for him. And so you see this pattern in the people that he pardons. And some of them makes no sense. It's like, well, this is a white-collar criminal, a money launderer. This is somebody, this is a really bad guy. Trump has plans for them. He's going to use them. And they will do anything for him out of gratitude. That is why Trump has the absolute worst people possible in these positions. And here's the thing. Once they break the law for him once, he owns them. Because he is the only one that could take care of them. He can pardon them on his way out of office or anytime he wants, and we won't even know about it. He can do a secret pardon. He's building his own little army. And that concerns me because Trump could keel over of a stroke tomorrow. Don't tempt me with a good time. And these people are still in these positions of power to implement Project 2025, to canoodle with Putin, to do even more damage. We have to be diligent in calling these people out. So good for Senator Tammy Duckworth for publicly at a hearing speaking to a Secretary of Defense in ways that senators have not in the past, but these are not normal times. So I applaud her. I applaud her for this. And I'd like to see lots more of it. We sort of develop this expectation that we all have to be civil and polite and not say the obvious things that we know in this era of Trump. And I've taken hits for it. I've known since, starting in October of 2015, the first time I was targeted. Those of you that know my story know it was like a bad John Grisham novel or something. It was pretty bad. Still is. But now everybody knows. So I don't even think that we need to be patient with people that say, "Oh, but I don't want to be impolite. I don't want to fight with the MAGA people because they're so nasty. So I'll just take down my Facebook post." Don't do that. Don't do that. That is appeasement. And don't think that your voice doesn't matter. It does. Even if you think it's just in your corner of the world, your social group, your neighborhood, your Facebook friends. Again, there's nobody else coming to save us. It is all of us. So please don't leave it up to other people to fight this battle because it's uncomfortable. We didn't choose this fight either. I didn't choose it. But this is the fight we're in. So let's keep going with it, shall we?